This video is brought to you by the FarmerKlein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Loma, Montana. But before that, this video is brought to you by Jimmy Anderson and Scooter's Workbench. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Loma, Montana map we found over at No Creek Farms itch.io page. This is a 4X map. Therefore, this is going to be released for PC players only. Over at the itch.io page, you will be able to freely download the map. There is a suggestion, a recommendation, that you provide a free will $5 donation if you feel the map is worth it. If you feel that you wish to donate, by all means, please go ahead. But you do not have to donate in order to download the map. You're going to click on this Download Now button, and then it's going to take you to this page. And here we have the recommended amount. You can change that amount if you want, but just if you don't want to donate, just click no thanks. Just take me to the downloads, and then you'll just click on this download button right here to go ahead and download the map. It is 1.4 gigabytes in size. Now, before we dive into the description, I do want to say that No Creek Farms is very well known for highly accurate, realistic maps, and that is exactly what you're going to get here on Loma, Montana. It's not just visual though. A lot of these realism changes are deep within the map itself. For example, land prices, crop sell prices, seed rates, all have been adjusted to be realistic to the area. So with that said, let's go ahead and read the description. Loma, Montana is a 4X map for FS22 created by No Creek Farms. This map is a recreation of a small town of Loma and the surrounding area. It has accurate terrains, roads, signage, custom buildings, as well as lots of historical add-ons. I encourage you to check out the area on Google Maps just to see how closely the map resembles real life. Almost everything on the map is custom in some way. This map is not compatible with the premium DLC. Now, I did have the privilege of having early access to this map while he was making it, and we did show it off a little bit in some live streams, and I accidentally had the premium DLC activated when I first started those live streams. The first stream went pretty good, didn't have any real issues. When I was doing some off-camera work, though, after the fact, well, things started to get really, really odd and wonky. I finally remembered I had to take the premium DLC out, and that pretty much fixed all my errors right off the bat. So I'm not really sure what's up with it, but for whatever reason, the crops or the machinery in the premium DLC has some odd conflict with the map or some scripts included with this map. This map contains 100% custom terrain, accurate border terrain with actual Google images, custom ground textures to match the soil in the area, custom foliage textures on all foliage, custom trees that have been heavily edited. Ground foliage is changeable by the player, and there is a link to a YouTube video that will walk you through this process. Now, it does require editing of the map and the map files itself, so I highly recommend if you are going to do that, make backup copies of the map before you start. This map also includes custom crop textures, added crops in alfalfa, clover, peas, lentils, and flax, swathable crops with wheat, barley, canola, and flax, realistic gravel roads, custom buildings for the area, accurate custom signage, historically accurate signage, custom train that can be rented, multi-train angle, seasonal items, parked cars appear and disappear at various times of day and location, accurate land pricing, crop yields, seed rates, and grain pricing have been accurately adjusted for the area. Additional adjustments to costs and rates, again for realistic gameplay. 2 custom cattle pastures, 1 small, 1 huge open range pasture. A large custom feedlot with 28 holding pens. Each pen is going to hold 20 to 25 cows, and overall you're going to have a total of 600 cows at that feedlot. And the way the feedlot is set up, all 600 cows will visually appear. Now, this will have some effect on your frame rate. I was seeing, and I believe others that had access to this map early on, were seeing approximately a 10 frame hit in the frame rate when you had this feedlot fully populated with cows and you were looking at those cows. Custom feeding for grain, alfalfa, and clover of the feedlot. Calves, heifers, bulls, and cows have been added. Custom manure heap that builds in each pen. And basically, you have the choice to add that or not. There's also a video, and I'm going to demonstrate basically how you add that manure heap to the feedlot later on in this video. Multiple custom farms throughout the map, multiple sell points for grain and bales. There is a Black Bluffs grain location in the southeast portion of the map. Loma grain is the westernmost grain elevator on the south edge of town. General Mills is the easternmost grain elevator on the south edge of town. There are 2 purchasable grain elevators in the middle between those 2 that can store grain and basically offload that to a train. Custom soil map like Medicine Creek. Each field has its own soil map, basically, where the field edges will yield the poorest as well as low spots. Land in the valley will yield more than land on top of benches on average. So we will take a look at the soil map. It is very, very unique. Farms are all placeable. Everything on the farms can be sold. There is an auto drive course that you can download that is linked here on his itch.io page. Paintable grass, or paintable and mobile grass, is available in the construction menu. All textures and plants you see in the map are in the construction menu to utilize. A working ferry to cross the Missouri River. The ferry is accurate to the area. Tons of Lewis and Clark history for you also to check out. Few notes: everything that was adjusted was based on playing the game on the hardest setting. Cattle in large open pastures do not produce manure, as this is not realistic. Cattle in the feedlot will produce manure if you put down the manure heap. Cattle feed rates have been drastically reduced, and the cattle are not going to produce milk. If you want to place any additional cattle pens, you will need to use the enhanced animal mod, but do note that the enhanced animal mod will completely overwrite the reduced feed rates set up on this map. Cattle that move around in the large pastures will stutter. This is apparently an issue with very large nav meshes, and this is a game engine problem, not an issue with the map. Grass areas around the map are not mowable, as that is realistic to the area. If you want to mow areas, then you will need to paint down the mowable grass that is included. Lastly, you're going to find in the mod desk XML a listing of all the credits, and the map author is going to apologize if he has happened to miss anyone with respect to providing credit. Now, before we move on, I want to show you this image here. This is an image, an old time shot way back when, and here are 3 grain mills. We're going to find these grain mills on the map. We see the railroad here. The railroad was removed maybe back in the 90s, I believe, maybe early 2000s, and the map author has put it back to kind of be to give you that level of gameplay, but also kind of to harken back to maybe the heyday of this area. So with that said, let's go ahead and load on into this map. Now, we are going to use the mods we typically use when we look at maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, precision farming, and straw harvest. And we are going to take out the premium expansion. Now, we'll say when you load this map up, there are a few warnings that are going to pop up here. They are nothing you really need to worry about. In addition, if you do load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, the starting machinery is going to be available in all play modes. You do not own any land in those alternate game modes, and all of the farms are fully built out exactly how you're going to see them here in new farmer mode. In addition, if you happen to load this map up on a lower end system, maybe one with integrated graphics, I was able to get pretty solid 60 frames per second until I went into town. It did drop a little bit at the town, and I also did see a little bit of a frame drop when I was at the feedlot. Now, that was before I bought any animals at the feedlot on that low-end system. So just be cautious. If you do have a system that maybe is a little bit lower end, you might have some issues down at the feedlot, especially if you buy those cows. So it may be advisable to kind of stay away from that general area. But overall, when you load in, you may have some stuttering initially because this map is loaded with custom textures. And as a result of being loaded with custom textures, well, the first time you load in, they are going to need to be cached into your texture cache. So there may be a little bit of stuttering as you move around the map the first little bit. So just be prepared for that. Even if you have a higher end system, you will have that texturing, caching, and loading initially. Now, when we load into the map for the very first time, we do load here at kind of an historical area where Lewis and Clark came to, and they walked all the way up this hillside in order to basically make a decision. Which way do we go to further our exploration? So I like how the map author has included that. Off in the distance there, you see the field lot. There's another farm up on the hillside there. But I encourage you in your own time to kind of explore this area. Read through these signs. He's got really high texture signs here that make it very easy and clear to read and kind of fully understand the historical significance of this area of Montana. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. And when we're going to zoom out, I want to say that as you can see, the boundary of the PDA is basically a Google Earth area. And he has done an absolutely amazing job in creating the terrain here to match this Google Earth image. The first time I loaded this map up, when I had early access, I just thought to myself, I have never seen anything in FarmSim 17, 19, or 22 that looked anywhere remotely like this map. In my opinion, this map stands alone in how it appears and how it looks. And it really drew me in the first time I loaded this up. I want to know what your all's thoughts are down in the comments below with respect to how this looks. I feel like I've traveled to Montana and I've toured a little bit segment of the state just in exploring this map. And that's what I really like about No Creek Farms' approach to map making. We take a look at our lands overview. In new farmer mode, we start up owning farmland ID 25. That is the small cow pasture. It includes a little barn over here that is bale storage. Our starting machinery is located here basically at farmland ID 49. I'm going to call that our starting farm, if you will, because that's where all of your farm machinery that loads in when you load in the map in new farmer mode is going to be located. You can buy that for basically $9,549. As far as other notable areas, we have farmland ID 19. This is where we're going to find the large open cow pasture. That can be bought for $776,000. We also have the feedlot, which is going to be here at farmland ID 42. The feedlot can be bought for $387,000. I was just looking at that, kind of rounding up to 400 even. We have farmland ID 33. This is going to be an arable farm that has a corn dryer attached. That is going to be buyable for $771,000. Then we have one more farm located here at farmland ID 7. And that is going to be able to be bought for basically $1.2 million. Farmland ID 4 has a series of additional silos that are placed here for $418,000. It's going to take a look at our farmland lease screen. This is going to show us all of the buyable farmlands, how large those farmlands are, if those farmlands include any field or fields, what is included. Then lastly, how much is that farmland going to cost us? Take a look at our field calculator screen. This is going to show us the specific sizes of each particular field. Since this is a Forex map, we do have some fields that are fairly large. Field 24, for example, is 73 hectares in size. Now let's go ahead and take a look and see how this custom soil map is being applied to these fields. And I do have to think this is going to be a soil map that you really have never seen to date in FS 17, 19, or 22. So we can see some really interesting patterns coming out here on these soil maps. As the map author said, the fringes of the fields are going to yield the lowest, so therefore they have the worst soil type of silty clay. As we move in, we're going to get better and better soil types, but then also low-lying areas of the field Well, they're also going to have a little bit lower yield as far as not being super optimal for growth, like more of the ideal areas. So that's why we've got such a weird and interesting kind of assortment of soil maps per field. We do also have a custom crop counter on this map. This is going to be custom and realistic to the area. And to that end, I want to point out that this map is missing 2 crops. We do not have poplar or sugarcane available on this map. So you're going to see that poplar and sugarcane are excluded from this crops listing. We do have the added crops in flax, peas, lentils, rye, millet, alfalfa, and clover. Now back here over to our crop calendar. Sugarcane obviously is expected. We don't have growth or planting or harvest schedule information for that because it's been excluded from the map. But we also do not have listed here or planting and harvest schedules for grapes or olives, which are possible on the map. So basically, if you are playing with the crop counter enabled, don't place grapes or olives because there is no planting or harvest season. Now, if you do turn the crop counter off, grapes and olives will be available on the map and you can put them down. But poplar and sugarcane, you cannot do anything with because they have been physically removed out of the map itself. You see we have our custom flax, peas, lentils, rye, millet, alfalfa, and clover. Also growth schedules included here in our custom crop calendar. With respect to our prices screen, well, there's some interesting oddities going on here. We do not have the ability to sell cotton here, but we do have the ability to put cotton down on the map. So I believe that is a slight oversight. In addition, we also do not have the ability to sell eggs, wool, or milk at all. So if you do, for some reason, want to have milk, even though none of the feedlots, none of the pastures really have milk triggers, you're not going to have an option of doing that. If you put down a sheep pen, you're not going to have an option of selling your wool. And if you have chickens, you're not having an option of selling your eggs. As we look down through various other things, we also do not have an entry here for logs. Now, typically, we don't see that really show up, but I do want to point out that later on in this video, I'm going to point out 2 log sell points. One doesn't sell logs at all. The other one will sell a log, but not give you any money. So we'll talk about those also when we get down to the kind of fly around portion of the video. With respect to base game productions, consider them non-existent because we can't sell any of the base game productions that are included with FS22 on this map. We do have the ability of buying bulk lime. We also do have the ability of getting rid of our stones at big sandy grain. We have dried corn as a added fill type for sell points. Flax, peas, lentils. Flax straw cannot be sold, but flax straw can be used in your feedlot as far as straw in that way. We have rice, millet, alfalfa windrow, alfalfa hay windrow, clover windrow, clover hay windrow. We do have propane added to the map, and you're going to need propane at the corn dryer. And we're going to have to look here in a little bit and see if we happen to have a propane trailer built into the map or not, or if you're going to have to use an added mod. We also do have the ability of selling our washed vegetables, our washed root crops, if you have a farm production pack. We do not have the ability to sell any of the platinum expansion production items. So if you are maybe looking to do a little bit of forestry, first off, you're going to have to put down trees because there's no real forested trees on this map. And second, well, you're going to have to put down a sell point for any of these productions because we don't have those included. If you are playing with pumps and hoses, we do have the ability of getting rid of our separated manure. We also do have the ability of getting rid of our hay and straw pellets if you are playing with straw harvest. With respect to our starting fleet, we've got a very modest list of starting equipment. Again, it's all down here in town at that one little farm lot. We have a Krone Big M trailer. We've got a couple tractors, trailers, and grass working equipment. It's all owned. None of it is leased. With respect to animals, we have the small cow pasture right down by town that we own at the start. It does not have any animals. We do have contracts available on this map. We do not own the only production chain on this map. There's one production point on this map, and that is the corn dryer. And this is showing 100 collectibles, but that is false. So I do believe that there maybe is an XML file that's in the map that is making the game think there are collectibles, but there are not actual collectibles. I did run the command to show me where all the collectibles are, and they're basically in the exact same locations as Elm Creek. So that is why we're seeing here. We have Elm Creek collectibles, but they're literally not here. So don't go looking for them. You're not going to find them. Let's go ahead and take a look at that starting fleet. We do have the Massey Ferguson 7722S medium tractor. We also have an Ideal 7PL Massey Ferguson harvester. We got the Krone Big M 450 self-propelled mower, the Fliegel TMK 273 trailer. For our harvester, we have a 30-foot PowerFlow grain header. We also have the Rebel Classic 600T disc harrow, the Rapid A 800S seeder. We have the Kuhn GF 8712 tedder, the GA 15131 windrower, and the VB 3190 round baler. That is our starting machinery. As far as mods and DLCs, this map does not have any custom vehicles or implements. So with respect to propane, you will need an add-on mod if you do want to haul propane up to the corn dryer. I will have a link to a propane mod down in the description below. I've gone ahead and purchased all of the farmlands and the appropriate land that we need to take a look at those key areas of interest. I'm here at the starting area where we do have our starting machinery. This is the small town of Loma. We have our cow pasture located right here. The 4 grain mills are located right here along this railroad track. And then we have our machinery located right here. All of it is kind of positioned nice and neat, ready for us to make use of. We do have a little small shed here on this property. Now, I was not able to sell this shed. If you own this property, you're not going to be able to sell this particular shed. Across the street from that, we do have bale and pallet storage. This is going to be associated with the small cow pasture. We're going to be able to store 1,000 bales in there. And then just up the lane here, we do have that small cow pasture. This cow pasture is going to be able to hold 100 cows. Inside the pasture, we do have our food trough located right here. Now, I mentioned the 2 log sell points, the 2 wooden sell points. One of them is located right here, and the other is located just up the way. This one, we come up here to the trigger, we're going to get sell wood. Okay, if we happen to have a log here and we hit sell wood, the log's going to disappear, but we're not going to get any money for it. So don't use that one. The other one that's up the way here, well, if we put a log here and we activate the sell point by hitting this trigger, nothing happens. The log doesn't vanish. We don't get any money. So don't use this one either. So basically, don't use either of these sell points. I'm not really sure why this one gives me no money, but it does actually take the log. I'm not really sure why the other one doesn't take the log or give me any money. So it's kind of an interesting thing going on there. Let's go ahead and jump up to the farm that is up at farmland ID 19, which is up on this bench. This is going to be the other farm with the large cow pasture. The description talked about the custom train. Here we have the opportunity of going ahead and seeing that custom train go by here. This is one of the longer trains that we're going to see in Farm Sim. We're just going to go kind of slowly make our way back to the farm that I mentioned that we're going to go take a look at while we let this train go ahead and make its way on by. Now, all of these cars are obviously not usable, so we're not going to be filling up every single car possibly with grain and having the most mega haul ever in Farm Sim. But it is nice to see really, really long trains in Farm Sim from time to time. So this large cattle farm does have a very nice farmhouse. It is rather separated from the farm buildings itself. This is an enterable farmhouse. So you will need to buy the land in order to have access to this farmhouse. And there we have our sleep trigger. Now, as far as this farm goes and its customization, we can sell the farmhouse here. But when we do that, there is going to be a transformer box somewhere located here, hidden amongst the trees and shrubbery. That transformer box is going to remain. The fencing around this area will remain, and this cattle gate will also remain. We're not able to sell those items. Making our way up to the farm buildings themselves, we have the start of the large cow pasture located right here. We're going to hold 200 cows in total here. We have our feed trough for this open pasture located right here. Another bale and pallet storage building. Another 1,000 bales or pallets are going to be stored here. We have storage silos for fertilizer. We have fuel storage. And we have a couple vehicle buildings located here. And we have then a series of grain silos. These silos will need augers in order to fill from the top and extract from the bottom. And now this cow pasture extends all around this fenced area, goes down pretty close to the railroad tracks, and there's our cow. There's our sole cow that we bought way over there. So this is a massive, massive area for these cows to roam around in. And for whatever reason, the game seems to have kind of a weird defect where if you have a nav mesh bigger than a certain size, you will run into performance issues. Now we're going to make our way across the map to the southeastern side to the next farm. I call this the Walker Farm. Back to the PDA. We started over here in town, then went over here to Farmland ID 19, and now we're down here at Farmland ID 7 at what again I'm calling the Walker's Farm. We have our farmhouse right here. And then I think, well, you kind of know why I'm calling it that. And I mentioned when I had early access to this map and we're doing live streams, I actually used this particular farm. And I made a comment that I kind of thought this felt more like Walker Farm than the Walker Farm map. Kind of ironic, but at any rate. So we've got some storage buildings here. We've got some vehicle buildings. We do have a workshop trigger inside of this shed. Oh, we got the loo, bathroom, if you will. Here's the trigger inside. Again, we've got storage silos for grain. They're all going to use augers. Got fuel storage. And then a bit removed from that farm, we do have another farmland, Farmland ID 4. We've got several additional silos that are over here. And then these are all usable as well. everything at this farm and that silo location can indeed be sold. Over at Farmland ID 19, where we had the large cow pasture, we can sell all the farm buildings. We can sell the fence. We can sell the large cow pasture. But what we can't sell is the cow gate. The cattle gate that basically walks you into kind of the farmyard itself. We're making our way now over to the large feedlot. Large feedlot, as I mentioned, we have 28 individual cow pens here. And we're going to be able to buy 20 to 25 cows per pen. And I'm going to go ahead and populate this out, and I'll be right back with you. We now have a fully populated feedlot, 28 pastures, 25 and 20 cows in each. Let's go ahead and take a look at our animal screen. You're going to see, well, yeah, we do indeed definitely have a whole lot of cows down here at this particular feedlot. Now, what does this do to our frames? Well, right now we're sitting pretty good at 59 FPS. I am recording on the exact same system that I am basically playing on. So, shockingly, right, we got a solid 60 basically behind us. Then we look here at our cows. We're hovering pretty darn close to there. Your performance may vary, of course, because when you get all of these animations going on, it may bring your system down a little bit, but really it's not going to make it come to a complete crawl, maybe unless you are already a little bit underpowered for the graphic settings that you are working on. Now, as far as manure from these areas, you will have to go into build mode, and under silo extensions, we're going to have our manure heap. Placing of this manure heap is fairly delicate, but what we have to do is come into here, and when we get a dollar figure, well, we can put it down. And we just keep on doing that until we find the sweet spot. And we can place it down at that point. And then we're going to come along this row here and collect that manure. So overall, this row, we have our animal buy triggers. Then on the other side of the pen, we're going to have our feed triggers for those cows on the left. Then we have our buy trigger. We have our feed triggers here. And then once again, we have our buy trigger and our feed triggers. Also down here at the feedlot, we do have some nice storage buildings. We have 2 pull-through silage bunkers, but these are actually 4 silage bunkers, 2 in a row. So if you do fill up one and you go to blanket it, you may find that only half of it covers up. So you will need to blanket both of those. These are basically 4 bunkers in 2 rows. And then we have, again, some more silos. Again, you're going to need augers to fill and draw grain out of. That is our massive feedlot here on Loma. Now just up the bench, just up a little bit west of that feedlot, east of field 24, we have our last farm. This is the farm that has the corn dryer on it. We have our farmhouse located right here. We have our farm buildings. We have several silos for grain or fertilizer storage. We have our grain silo itself with our dump and fill point. And then this is also going to be our production dryer. This is where we're going to need to bring our propane in order to fill the dryer. And our interactive icon for the dryer is located here at this point as well. Under the production chains menu, we have corn drying, which is going to require corn and propane to make dried corn. And then all of these other greens are basically input and output, so they are basically just storage. And as I mentioned earlier, I will have a link in the description below to a mod that will allow you to transport propane from the buy point up here to this silo. While we're talking about build mode, let's go ahead and take a look in here. We do have the ability to place all of the custom sheds that are on this map here under sheds. We also have several custom silos that are again included with this map. We've already talked about our manure heap under silo extensions. And then we have our custom farmhouses. Under production, we have the large corn dryer, so you can put another corn dryer down anywhere you really wanted. We have the ability to place the triggers for a couple of these sell points, but not the building itself. And then we have several cow pastures, and these are the triggers that are associated with the feedlot down below. So in essence, you could build out your own feedlot with fences and place these various pastures down within that feedlot to build out something more. All the other animal areas are all stock. And under landscaping, we do have the assortment of all the various ground textures that are included on the map, included here in painting. And then we have paintable plants that do also include mowable grass meadows. So basically everything that is on the map visually can also be painted down or placed, which is always something really nice to see. As far as where would you go to buy those animals if you didn't just buy them directly at the feedlot? Well, the animal dealer is just south of Field 21. That is where we're going to go right now. Sorry, I misspoke. This is the historical point. So this is your starting point. The animal dealer is just north of Field 20. And that's where we're going to go. While we're making our way over there, I will say that I've already mentioned this map kind of has its own very unique look and feel. Down here in the lowlands, right, we have lots of nice trees growing along the river. Got some areas where we have some washed up tree bark and branches and such along the river's edge as well. So we have our animal dealer located down here. Just to the west of the animal dealer, right on the western edge of the map, we do have our vehicle dealer. This is also where we're going to buy our propane. So we have our propane buy point here. We're going to buy seed, lime, and solid fertilizer from here. Inside of this shed, we're going to be able to buy our liquids, our liquid fertilizer, our herbicide. Right across the street is going to be our vehicle dealer. And then our machinery is going to spawn around back. We've got the gate, and then the vehicle yard, and everything's going to spawn in here. So quite a large area for our machinery to spawn at. We do have a little bit of limited width with respect to getting out of this gate here and getting out of this gate here. But again, most of, I think, the machinery that we're going to get is going to be able to fold up and easily pass through those areas. To make our way over to town, we'll talk about the sell points, the storage silos that are available in town. We'll make our way over to the ferry, and then we'll make our way over to the final sell point, which is in the extreme southeast corner. So we've already talked about our land area. We've talked about the small cow pasture. A couple staples of Loma we have here. We have Pa's Loma Mart. This is also where we're going to come and get our fuel. And from what I understand from the map author, this is exactly how this structure looks in Loma today. He was able to reach out to basically residents of the town and get them to take some photographs for the map. So what we see here on a lot of the signage and some of these very distinct buildings are exact replicas, as near as possible, to Mama Loma's Cafe, or maybe the Earth Science Museum. And that's also here in town. So again, really, really nice seeing that attention to detail. There's not a lot going on here in town. We do have a fairly small town. I think there's probably more residences over at the feedlot than maybe here in town. We have 2 grain sell points here along the railroad track and 2 silo storage points. So we have a grain sell point in the first and last mill here. So this is a sell point. This is going to be a storage point to store grain and transfer it to the train. So we have a dump and fill point for our trailer, and then the train obviously is going to be over on the train tracks. The same for this one, and this is buyable land. So you're going to come in here to your PDA, and it's going to be buyable plot 23 and 24. They're going to be able to be bought for $27,000 and $32,000 respectively. Then we have General Mills. This is also a grain sell point. We have our dump station located right there. Now the ferry is going to be in the extreme northeast corner of the map, north of Field 9. We see a little round white dot over there. That is basically going to be our ferry. So let me go ahead and just kind of jump cut over to that. So at the ferry landing, we have a nice little informational sign that gives us a little info about the ferry itself. This actual ferry crossing is 15 miles downriver, but the map author really wanted to include this in the map, so he did kind of move it up. A little unrealistic in a very realistic map, but again, it is realistic to the real ferry that does exist just a little bit further down the river. And apparently there's only, what, three river crossings in Montana, or through the Missouri River. Is that, yep, 3 working ferry crossings to date. So the way this is going to work is we're going to basically drive onto the ferry, and then we're going to get a prompting to enter the vehicle. That is going to be the ferry itself. So we're going to enter the ferry, and then we're going to hit left shift B, and off we go. It's going to motor itself across the river all by itself. We don't have to do anything. And when it gets to the other side, it's just going to stop. You see we have these cables that are running across the river in order to support the ferry, keep it from obviously floating downstream. We've got the engine house here with the line going in and out. And of course the engine that's in there with the pulley pulling it across the river. So when we get to our destination on the other side, it's supposed to just stop. That's how it worked when I was trying this out earlier. But you know how life is when you're recording. Well, things operate differently. Left shift B should make this thing change direction. But again, such is life when things just do not cooperate. But earlier what I was experiencing was you would get in it, left shift B, it would come across, it would stop at this end. Left shift B, it would reverse and go back to the other end. Now let's make our way over to the final point of interest, which is going to be a sell point. And while we're doing that, let's talk about the map border, because we're looking right at the map border now. And the map border really on this map really is a thing of beauty, because it's very difficult to know where the border ends and where the map begins, because the lay of the land, the texturing, it's the same. So the map border itself is also textured. The only real obvious thing that we can see is an obvious degradation in overall texture quality once you move past that map border. Now, with respect to our scoring, we are going to give the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such, because we do have one production pre-placed on the map. That is all we require in the corn dryer. We do have the ability of also placing another corn dryer down if we should so wish. With respect to the ability to sell all of our basic crops, animal outputs, and production points, well, this is where the map is going to make its biggest impact on the score. We don't have the ability to sell cotton. We don't have the ability to sell eggs, wool, or milk, or any of the base game productions. So we're going to give the map just a quarter of a point, 0.25 points, with respect to the ability to sell all our base game crops, animal outputs, and productions. With respect to the farms being customizable, we're going to take a quarter point off there. There are a few little things here and there that we can't get rid of, but overall, most of the farms we can indeed fully sell and therefore fully customize. So down here we have our final grain sell point. It is going to be named Black Bluffs Grain. And we have our sell point here below. And that is all of the sell points, all of the various points of interest. With respect to buildings where appropriate are using the new texturing technique, there's a few buildings in town that I'm not really sure on, but we're just going to give the benefit of the doubt and give a full point there. If they aren't using the new texturing technique, they really don't impact my overall impression of the map. I don't think they're going to overall impact your view either of this map. So we're going to give a point there. Triggered interactive areas clearly marked. We're going to give a full point there as well. So that's going to wrap this map video up with a score of 4 out of 5. Again, it lost its most points because of the lack of being able to sell any of the productions that are not pre-placed, but that's fine. We can't sell any of those productions. And for whatever reason, cotton is included in the map, but is not sellable. I got to feel that that's probably just an oversight more than anything else. I would love to hear your all's thoughts down in the comments below with respect to Loma, Montana, and who is going to tackle the feedlot with 600 cows. I mean, it sounds like it might not be near as hard as it sounds because the feed requirements have been drastically changed. To that end, let's quickly look real fast at these. We'll pause that. We'll quickly look real quick at the animal food requirements because there are a couple little changes here. Since we have calves, we do have milk listed here as a food type for 100%. That's going to be for calves alone. Under hay, we also have alfalfa windrow, alfalfa hay, clover, and clover hay windrow, as well as hay pellets have been added there. And then we have grain added for our cows. Soybeans, corn, sorghum, wheat, barley, rye, peas, lentils, or flax is also a feed requirement for our cows. Sheep, fairly standard with the addition of alfalfa, hay and windrow, and hay and straw pellets as a feed source. Pigs, if you put pigs down, well, we're going to have corn, sorghum, sugar beet cut, rye, or pig food as the protein source. And under root crops, soybeans alone. Horses, we've got alfalfa and alfalfa hay added as a hay source, and chickens look pretty much untouched. So again, I want to thank you all for coming out and watching today's video. Head over to No Creek Farms itch.io page if you do want to go ahead and download this map. Give a free will donation if you feel so inclined as well, but do note you do not have to donate in order to actually download the map. And until next time, happy farming.